What if I told you that the way your legs feel when you simply stand up from a chair is already telling you something about the next 5 years of your life? Most people over 60 don't realize it, but the slow weakening of leg muscles is often the very first sign that the body is beginning to lose stability, circulation, and independence. It doesn't start with a dramatic fall. It doesn't start with a diagnosis. It starts much more quietly. You push off the armrest a little harder than before. You pause before climbing a curb. You reach for a railing without even thinking about it. These moments feel small, almost forgettable, but in medicine they are not small at all. After decades of working with older adults, I can tell you that this is exactly the pattern I see again and again before something more serious happens. The legs weaken first, and the rest of the body begins to adapt around that weakness in ways that slowly shrink a person's world. Here's the encouraging part. In most cases, this decline can be slowed, paused, and in many situations even reversed, and you don't need a gym, expensive equipment, or complicated routines to do it. You only need a sturdy chair and a few minutes a day. Today, I'm going to show you 5 simple chair exercises that can rebuild strength in your legs, restore your balance, improve circulation, and protect your mobility for years to come. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. The sit to stand, rebuilding the strength your legs are quietly losing. Many people over 60 don't notice their legs weakening until one small moment changes everything. It might be the first time you struggle to rise from your favorite armchair. It might be the moment you push off the armrest and realize your legs didn't quite do the work on their own. It might be that heavy, almost locked feeling in your thighs after you've been seated for a while watching television. These moments feel minor, but they are often the earliest signals that the large muscles in your thighs and hips have begun to weaken. A slow process known as age-related muscle loss. And when those muscles lose strength, everything else starts to compensate. The knees take more strain, the lower back works harder, balance becomes less reliable. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to reverse that trend is something you already do several times a day without thinking, standing up from a chair. The sit to stand may look ordinary, but it directly strengthens the quadriceps, the glutes, and the core, the exact muscles that support nearly every movement you depend on, from walking across a room to climbing a short flight of stairs to stepping safely out of a car. When these muscles grow stronger, balance improves, circulation increases, and the strain on your joints decreases noticeably. To begin, choose a sturdy chair. A dining chair works well. A kitchen chair works well. Avoid soft couches or anything with wheels, because stability is the foundation of this movement. Sit near the front edge of the seat, not leaned back against the cushion. Place your feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart. Your knees should be bent at roughly a right angle, and your back should be tall and upright rather than slumped. Before you stand, lean your upper body slightly forward, just enough that your nose moves over your toes. This small forward shift activates the muscles in your thighs and hips and takes pressure off your knees. Now press your feet firmly into the floor and slowly rise to a full standing position. Focus on using your legs, not your arms. Once you're fully upright, pause for a moment and feel your weight balanced evenly through both feet. Then lower yourself back down slowly and with control until you are seated again. Please do not drop into the chair. That lowering phase is just as important as standing because it strengthens the very muscles that stabilize your knees and protect you from falls. For most older adults, starting with 8 repetitions is a safe place to begin. Perform 2 sets with a short rest between them. If this feels challenging at first, it's perfectly fine to place your hands lightly on the armrests or on your thighs for support. Over time, as your muscles wake up, try completing the movement without using your hands at all. Practiced once or twice each day, this simple exercise can gradually rebuild the strength that protects your independence. Many of my older patients tell me something surprising after a few weeks of doing this. They say everyday life starts to feel easier. Standing up feels smoother. Walking becomes more confident. The legs feel more stable underneath them, but strength alone is only part of the story because the muscles lower down in your legs are responsible for something even more important, keeping blood circulating back toward your heart. And what happens when those muscles stop doing their job may surprise you. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. The seated heel raise, waking up the second heart inside your legs. There's a small group of muscles in your lower legs that most people never think about until circulation problems begin to appear. Maybe your ankles start to swell by the end of the day. Maybe your legs feel heavy after you've been sitting for a long time. Maybe your feet feel colder than they used to, even in a warm room. These changes are surprisingly common after the age of 60, and one of the main reasons is that the calf muscles are no longer being used enough to help move blood effectively through your lower body. Doctors often refer to the calf muscles as the body's second heart, and there is a very good reason for that. Unlike arteries, which receive help from the pumping action of the heart, the veins in your legs rely on the contraction of your calf muscles to push blood upward back toward the chest. Every time you rise onto your toes, those muscles squeeze the veins around them and help keep blood moving in the right direction against gravity. When those muscles weaken or stay inactive for long periods, circulation slows, fluid pools in the ankles, and the legs begin to feel tired, stiff, and uncomfortable. The seated heel raise is one of the safest ways to reactivate this natural circulation system, and you can do it anywhere there is a chair. Sit tall in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the floor, positioned roughly under your knees. Rest your hands gently on your thighs. Keep your back upright, not lean back, and your shoulders relaxed. Now, while keeping the balls of your feet pressed into the floor, slowly lift both heels as high as you comfortably can. You should feel the muscles in the back of your lower legs tighten and engage. Hold the lifted position for 2 full seconds, feeling that contraction, and then slowly lower your heels back to the floor with control. The key is not speed, the key is control. Avoid bouncing your heels up and down quickly because quick movement does not properly engage the calf muscle fibers and does little for circulation. Instead, move slowly and deliberately, making each lift and each lower last about 3 seconds. Begin with 10 repetitions and work up to 2 sets of 15 as you feel stronger. For an extra circulation benefit, you can add the second half of this exercise after lowering your heels. Lift your toes off the floor while keeping your heels planted. This activates the muscles along the front of your shins, which also play a role in stabilizing the ankle and preventing falls. Alternating between heel raises and toe raises gives you a complete lower leg pump in a single seated sequence. Many older adults notice a clear difference within a couple of weeks. Legs feel lighter. Swelling at the end of the day is less noticeable. Walking becomes more comfortable. Some people even tell me that they sleep better because restless, heavy legs at night are often a direct result of poor circulation during the day. When the second heart is active, the whole body feels lighter. But circulation and strength aren't only about what your feet and calves are doing. In fact, there's another part of your body that controls far more of your stability than most people realize, and it starts to fade in almost complete silence. If you're finding this useful so far, type a number 1 in the comments to keep me going. Now, let's move on to point number 3. 3. The seated march. Reconnecting the signal between your brain and your legs. Something happens in the body as the years pass that almost no one notices until it's already a problem. The connection between the brain and the legs begins to weaken. Not the muscles themselves necessarily, but the signal that tells the muscles when and how to move. This is one of the most underestimated aspects of aging, and it affects almost every older adult to some degree. Many of my older patients describe a very specific moment. They stand up from a chair, and for a split second, their legs don't quite feel ready. It's not pain, it's not weakness exactly. It's hesitation, as if the message from the brain hasn't fully reached the legs yet. Some describe it as feeling a half second behind their own body. If that sensation sounds familiar to you, please pay close attention to this next movement, because this is one of the most important exercises you can do to restore that communication. Your nervous system is like a network of invisible wires running between your brain and your muscles, and those wires need to be used regularly in order to stay sharp. When you spend long hours sitting, those signals get lazy. Movements that used to feel automatic begin to feel uncertain. The seated march is a simple exercise that sends a clear, repeated message back through that network and wakes it up. Sit tall toward the front edge of your chair, not leaned back. Your feet should be flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Before you begin, take a moment to notice your posture. Sit upright enough that your chest is open and your head is stacked comfortably over your shoulders. This position matters more than people think because it allows the nervous system to stay fully engaged. Now slowly lift one knee upward toward your chest, just a few inches. You don't need to raise it high. Lower it down with control. Then lift the other knee. Continue alternating in a gentle marching pattern. Here is where most people get it wrong. They rush. I want you to slow it down enough that you can actually feel each movement, each lift, each lower. As your right knee rises, let your left arm swing forward naturally, just as it would if you were walking. Then switch, left knee up, right arm forward. This crossbody pattern is not random. It forces both sides of your brain to communicate with each other, which is exactly what age and inactivity begin to disrupt over time. Breathe normally throughout, and you should feel your heart rate rise slightly. You should feel warmth building in your hips and thighs. Begin with 20 seconds of slow, controlled marching, then rest for 10 seconds, and repeat 2 more times. As you grow more comfortable, extend each round to 30 or 40 seconds. You'll notice something unusual after a few days. Your first step when rising from a chair feels steadier. You stop glancing down at your feet as often. The hesitation begins to fade. That is not coincidence. That is your nervous system reconnecting with your lower body. But the march isolates one key piece of the puzzle. There is another group of muscles buried quietly in the back of your body that plays a bigger role in balance and stability than almost any other. And when they weaken, falls become much more likely. Let's talk about them next. 4. The seated leg extension. protecting the knees that hold you upright. If there is one joint that decides whether an older adult stays independent or slowly begins to lose mobility, it is the knee. The knees absorb the weight of every step, every stair, every transition from sitting to standing. And the muscle most responsible for protecting the knee is the quadriceps, the large muscle on the front of your thigh. When this muscle weakens, something very specific begins to happen. Going downstairs starts to feel uncertain. The knees feel wobbly when you step off a curb. You begin to feel a soft buckling sensation, as if the leg might give way for just a moment. That feeling is not something to ignore, and it is not something to simply accept as aging. It is a clear signal that the quadriceps need to be strengthened before a more serious fall occurs. The seated leg extension is one of the safest ways to rebuild this muscle without putting any pressure on the joint itself. Sit tall in your sturdy chair with your back comfortably supported, feet flat on the floor, knees bent at right angles. Place your hands lightly on the seat beside your hips or on your thighs, whichever feels more stable. Now slowly straighten one leg out in front of you, raising your foot until the leg is as close to fully extended as you can. Comfortably manage. Your thigh should remain resting on the chair. The movement happens from the knee, not from the hip. As you lift, focus on squeezing the muscle on the top of your thigh. You should feel it tighten and contract. Hold that position for 2 full seconds at the top, feeling the contraction. Then slowly lower the foot back down to the floor with control. Do not let the leg drop. The lowering phase is where much of the strength is built. Complete 8 to 10 repetitions with one leg, then switch and repeat with the other leg. Perform 2 sets on each side. If you want to increase the challenge over time, you can flex your foot so your toes point up toward the ceiling as you extend. This small adjustment engages even more of the muscle and brings the shin muscles into play as well, which improves ankle stability during walking. Breathe normally, never hold your breath. And if you feel any sharp pain inside the knee joint itself, stop and reduce the range of motion until you can move comfortably. A little muscle fatigue is good. Sharp joint pain is not. Think of the difference this way. A warm, tired feeling in the thigh after several repetitions means the muscle is getting stronger. That is exactly what you want. A sharp or pinching sensation inside the knee joint itself is a signal to reduce the range of motion or rest. What people notice after practicing this exercise for a few weeks is remarkable. Walking on uneven ground feels safer. Descending stairs feels more controlled, the small wobble at the knee begins to disappear, and perhaps most importantly, confidence returns. Because so much of what we call balance is not really in the feet or the inner ear, it is in the strength of the muscles that support the knee. But even the strongest quadriceps are not enough on their own. There is one final element that ties everything together, a small but critical movement that determines whether you stay upright the moment something unexpected happens, a slippery floor, an uneven step, a pet darting across your path. Let's talk about that now. 5. The seated ankle circle and side leg lift, restoring the balance system at the base. Your ankles and hips are the hidden foundation of your entire balance system. When something unexpected happens, when your foot lands on an uneven surface, when you stumble slightly, when you turn too quickly, it is the small, fast-acting muscles around your ankles and outer hips that decide whether you stay upright or go down. These muscles are often the most neglected in older adults, not because they're unimportant, but because we rarely ever consciously use them. Walking on flat floors, driving, sitting for long periods, these daily habits don't challenge them. Over time, they simply fade, and one day, a small stumble that you would have easily recovered from at 50 now becomes a serious fall. This last exercise combines 2 movements that wake up that entire foundation, the ankle circle and the seated side leg lift. We'll start with the ankles. Sit tall in your chair with one leg extended slightly out in front of you, heel resting lightly on the floor. Lift that foot just a few inches off the ground. Now slowly rotate your ankle in a full circle as if you were drawing a circle in the air with your big toe. Move slowly and deliberately, making the circle as wide as you can. Complete 5 rotations in one direction, then reverse and complete 5 rotations in the opposite direction. Switch legs and repeat. This small movement may feel gentle, but it strengthens and mobilizes the exact tendons and small muscles that catch you when you stumble. Now let's move to the second half, the seated side leg lift. Sit tall with both feet flat on the floor. Place your hands lightly on the seat for stability. Keeping your legs straight, slowly lift one leg out to the side, away from your other leg, as far as is comfortable. You don't need to lift it high. Even a few inches is enough if done with control. Hold for 2 seconds at the top, feeling the outside of your hip engage. Then slowly lower the leg back to the starting position. Complete 8 repetitions on one side, then switch and complete 8 on the other side. Perform 2 sets on each side. This lift activates the muscles along the outside of your hip, which are critical for preventing the kind of sideways fall that most often leads to a hip fracture. Together, the ankle circle and the side leg lift rebuild the 2 layers of your balance system that fade most quietly with age. The small stabilizers at the foot and the lateral stabilizers at the hip. Done consistently, This is the exercise that many of my patients credit with giving them the confidence to walk unassisted again, to trust their footing on uneven paths, to stop holding the wall on the way to the bathroom at night. The next 1 to 5 years, what today's chair can protect tomorrow. Let me take a step back for a moment, because what we've talked about today is not really about 5 exercises, it is about what those 5 exercises represent. Most people don't think of aging as something they can actively shape, they think of it as something that happens to them, a slow list of losses they simply have to accept. But that is not what I have seen in my practice over decades of working with older adults. What I have seen is that the people who remain mobile, confident and independent well into their 70s and 80s are not the people with perfect genetics or rare luck. They are the people who took small, consistent, deliberate actions to protect their legs long before anything felt truly wrong. That is the real message here. A sit to stand done every morning protects you from a fall you'll never have to experience. A heel raise done while the kettle boils keeps the circulation in your legs alive. A seated march before bed keeps the wiring between your brain and your body sharp. A leg extension done during a commercial break protects the knee that allows you to keep walking with your family. An ankle circle and side leg lift at the end of the day protect the balance system you will one day rely on when you lose your footing for just a moment. These movements are small on their own, almost laughably small, but stacked together, practiced quietly day after day, they are the difference between a future of freedom and a future of dependence. Think about the next 1 year. Will you still be walking without hesitation? Will you still be climbing stairs without reaching for the railing? Will you still be rising from your chair on your own? Now think about 3 years from today, about 5 years. The choices you make now, the few minutes you give to your legs today, determine what that future will look like far more than any medication or procedure. This is not about becoming an athlete. It is not about fitness or vanity. It is about preserving the most valuable thing you have at this stage of life, the ability to live on your own terms, in your own home, with your own independence intact. The people who live the most fulfilling later years are not the ones who fight aging with desperation. They are the ones who work with their bodies, quietly, patiently, consistently, giving their legs the small attention they need to keep doing their job. Don't wait until something happens to take this seriously. Start today. Pick one chair and start with one exercise. Then add another and another. Within a few weeks, you will feel the difference. Within a few months, others will notice. And within a few years, you will look back and be grateful that you made this small decision on this ordinary day. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned that you plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward protecting our strength, our balance, and our freedom. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.